So I'm sure you work with TypeScript every day, right? Everybody knows TypeScript, right? Yes, at least you think so. So I'm working on the book now on TypeScript. While I was working on the book, I obviously did some research on the language. If I wouldn't work on the book, I would also think that I know TypeScript. So today, we'll have this highly interactive presentation. I'll be asking you questions. I'll be showing you samples. Like, imagine that you are at a technical interview, but I will provide you the answer, and I will explain you, and I will not be calling your parents to school if you will giving the wrong answer. And I have a book to give away on Angular 2nd edition. It's a real book, and I have another thing. I have this code for free ebook, which is a new one on TypeScript. People who will participate the best will get one of these. So, about myself, I live in New York City. This is Sammy. This is my dog and the best friend. And now let's talk about TypeScript. Recently, Stack Overflow published a new developer survey. These are the most loved languages. And TypeScript is on number 3. Actually, it's tied for number 2 with Python. Most loved means people want it. People want to learn it. And it's number 10 in most popular languages, which is even more important than the first slide. So to get into the first 10, it's really, really impressive. And this is Stack Overflow. This is not something that is biased or anything. But TypeScript requires writing more code than JavaScript. And because of that, some people don't like it. Some people say it's too much to write. I can do much faster without all these types. And of course, it requires reading documentation. In JavaScript, you just can write code and it'll work. Eventually, you're going to get a runtime error, but that's fine. At least you can write code quickly. In this thing, you cannot. You have to read the book, read the manual, RTFM, right? Read the Fain manual, as we all know. And what is a Fain manual to read? And that's the only one. TypeScript Quickly, which is already almost ready, and it's already available for purchase on Manning.com. By the way, this is they gave me this discount code, 40% on any Manning book. The only thing that you have to go to their site, Manning.com. So, this book, by the way, it consists of 2 parts. First part is the language itself, and in the second part, we decided to explain and write sample app. And if you think that it's going to be another to-do app, to-do list, it's not. We were fighting with editors from Manning, but we won, and actually we are building blockchain app in TypeScript in the second part. They said that we are crazy because it's a difficult topic to explain itself, plus a new language, but it's coming out well. So let's do a warm-up. How it's going to work? I will show you a piece of code, and I will ask you, I will give you multiple choice, and you will suggest, you can scream, or you can tweet. If you will, this is my Twitter handle. If you will add my Twitter handle to whatever answer you give, I will see it on the phone. So let's try to do a warm-up. Warm-up is just, I will show you how it's going to work. So let's take a look at this example. Here's a piece of code for you, the first one, an easy one. We have a variable some var. I didn't define type, right? I assign 1, and then I reassign it, reassign Mary to it, and then I reassign an array to it. And then I want to print it. So the question, what is the right answer? Or the best answer? A, it'll compile. It'll give you compile error on line number 3. Makes sense, because you already assigned 1, which is a number. B, compile error on line number 4. C, compile errors on line number 3 and 4. And D, it'll print an array of 3 elements. So what do you think? What's the right answer? Which one? B? D as in David. Why is D? Don't you think that they messed up the whole code? Why is D? Who can explain? Yes, please.
It's D because the variable is a left variable. So every time you call the variable with a new value, that is the value of the variable. So the last variable.
So the answer was every time you assign a different value, it'll be a different type?
Yeah.
I want to remind you that this is not JavaScript. In JavaScript, you're right. So what's the answer? All right, valid JavaScript is valid TypeScript is the right answer for any slide that you will see today. I need to have something more specific. So, yes, please.
I think because you don't define a specific value on line 1, it's implicit any.
Very good. So the correct answer is D, but the reason is, since you did not assign type in line number 1, it's implicit any. If it's any, you can assign anything. That's the right answer. But again, if it would be a written test, whoever said D would pass. You always should try. How about this example? We assign 1 in the first line, and then what? Compile error on line number 2. Compile error on line number 3. How about C? Maybe on both? Yes or no? Let's see. Let's see. Line number 2 and line number 3 are wrong. Obviously, because we assign 1 TypeScript in first type after line number 1. After line number 1, the variable somewhere is number, and anything else is wrong. Okay. The word ambient means A, relating to the immediate surrounding of something. A style of gentle music used to create a mood or atmosphere. A reference to a variable that will be available at runtime. All of the above. What does it mean, this word? B? For some people, it's a gentle music. What else? B is correct or what? B is a nice answer, by the way, Nir. I'm not saying it's right, but it's nice answer. Elevator music, right? So who else? What is the right answer? What? D. Why is D? What is the reference to a variable that will be available at runtime? What is that? What does it mean? Nobody knows, of course, because you never use JavaScript with TypeScript. Imagine that you have TypeScript code and you want to use existing popular JavaScript library, like jQuery, for example, right? How do you use API? Or how can you use a variable $, or jQuery? TypeScript compiler will complain. It'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. And you're saying, no worries. It'll be there when I will be running the program. That's the meaning of the word ambient. So the answer is D, all of the above. The warm-up is over. Now, the real thing. Can you see the whole thing? Yes. Class person with name and age. Name is a string, age is a number, customer is just a name. And look at the last line. Const customer of type customer, but we do equal new person. This doesn't seem right to me. I'm a Java developer, by the way. It's really something wrong with that. A, it'll compile as is. B, you need to add as customer type assertion after new person, like kind of casting, even though TypeScript doesn't have casting. C, compile error on the last line. Can't assign the object of type person to a type customer. D, compile time error. TypeScript has a type string with a small s, not with capital S as I put on the code. So what is the right answer? Which one? D? C? Compile error cannot cite. All right, we got C. I'm not saying that this is the right answer. Anyone else? Which one? B? D, compile time. I have bad news for you. There is string in with small letter and string is with capital. It's not an error. Like in Java, if anybody knows Java. It's like a boxing thing. So A or B? Anyone? Anyone? A. One person A. Why? If I hear it correctly, you're saying A because customer and person have the same field, right? Yes, and the right answer is A because that's not Java. In Java, they use so-called nominal typing system, nominal type system. If you declare a variable type customer, there is no other way but new customer, right? And in TypeScript, they use so-called structural typing system. If they are kind of similar, kind of compatible, if it looks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, if it's quack like a duck, it's probably a duck. This is what TypeScript does, duck typing. So class customer is kind of class person. There is no crime because class customer has a property name and class person has a property name, so no big deal. Let's see. No errors, right? No errors. So the A is the answer. All right, if you know that much, let's take a look at this example. I just switched around the last line. On the left, customer of type person, but I create a new instance of class customer. So what is the right answer? Compile as is, add the type assertion as person after new customer. Compile error on last line. Property age is missing on type customer, but is required in type person. So what is the answer? What is the answer? Nobody knows? 3 lines of code. Come on. B or what? C? Who said C? Why? Explain yourself. Right. The correct answer is C. You're right. Why? Because look at this. Just think about it. On the left-hand side, I declared a variable of type person. Type person has name and age. But on the right-hand side, I create an instance that has only the name. The question is, what I will do if I will say customer.age equals something? It'll blow up because it doesn't have this variable. So even though it's a structural type system, there are different things to consider. How about this example? I have a type. I declare a new type, custom type, person, with one property, address in there, of type string. I declare a variable person1 of type any, and then I want to do JSON parse. Typical situation. You make a request to the server brings you JSON object, right? So you assign it to person1. Person1 is any, so there's no crime. And I want to print person1.address. So what is this code will print? Undefined, 25 Broadway, and if you change the type of person1 to person, it will print 25 Broadway. So what's the answer? A, B, or C? Why? Misspelled address. Man. You're right. The address is misspelled. So from JavaScript perspective, that's fine. I'm trying to print the property with 2 Ds, which is not there, right? This object has property with 1 D. But I'm trying to print something with 2 Ds. That's why it's wrong. Very good. See, you can do it. So you're getting better. Let's try again. Something else. This time I spelled everything right. Address, so no tricks in there. Type person, address string, person2 unknown, of type unknown. Person2 parse, low. A, TypeScript doesn't have type unknown. B, compiler error, object is of type unknown. And C, this code will print undefined. So what's the answer? Who thinks A? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All these people are using old version of TypeScript. as of TypeScript 3.0, there is type unknown. So A is not correct answer. B or C? 50% chance. Anyone? B? All right, since you don't know this type, it wouldn't be fair to ask you further. The thing is that you can declare type unknown. It's like a type safe counterpart of any. But you cannot use it as is. By the time you want to use it, you have to narrow it down. You have to turn it into some more specific type. So, if you look at this code, I declare person to unknown, parse. See, it gives me the problem. So object is of type unknown. I cannot just use it. I need to do something with it. So what do? I need to create a custom type guard, line 11 and 12. So what do I do in there? I say I want to check that the object is person if address in object. There is an in operator in TypeScript, and you can say property in type, which means what? Which means that we want to make sure that there is an address property in object that will tell us that yes, it's a person. And after that, you can start using it. If is person, this variable of type unknown, then I can work with it as if it's a person. Otherwise, I say this is not a person. So yes, there is a type unknown, and it's safer to use it than any. Actually, any shouldn't be used at all. Now, look at this example. Two functions, print me1 and print me2 on the left in TypeScript. They are compiled into the same exact code on the right? The first one has type any in line number 1, argument of type any, and returns any. TypeScript compiler will remove these types anyway. And line number 6, the second version, has generic T in Angular. Sorry, no, Angular is the framework, in angle brackets. So the question is, which one would you prefer, print 1 or print 2? A, I like print 1 because in TypeScript we have to use types, right? And line number 1 has types. B, I would remove any from print 1 because TypeScript types are optional. That's 100% correct. It's optional. C, I like print 2 because generics may make my code look more solid. It's a good reason to do print 2. And D, I like print 2 because it has advantages over print 1. What is the right answer? Which one? D as in David. Who can explain? Yes? Since I'm using, the answer was, since I'm using generic, I'm guaranteed that input and output are the same thing. As a matter of fact, I could remove T over here on the right, and I could have said void. That's fine. But yes, so what other advantages this thing will give me? The generic notation. Any type checking, it'll give me, additional type checking. Any protection. Let's see. So I have these two functions. One of them is print me1 and then print me2. And then take a look. I will just hover over, let's say I'm invoking print me1, right? With any. Const A is any. If my function has arguments, it will not help me with types. No autocomplete. B. Constant B is hello. See? I'm invoking it with hello in double quotes. So this angle bracket T becomes string, and it knows. Now, C. In this case, I'm invoking this print me1 with the parameter of type person. Now, T is in angle bracket is actually person, right? So with print me1, which is any, it knows nothing about it. With print me2, it knows that D is a person. Accordingly, if I will remove these comments, for example, it'll tell me I'm wrong right away. I said that I'm going to invoke this function passing person, but I am actually passing a string. Wrong. Compile time error, or over here, D, for example. Control space. It helps me saying that there is property name. Why? Because it knows that I invoke this function, this person, and T is a person, and so on. So you see, you have protection, and it's not a high price to pay. Let's look at this one. Constant get products equal function, again T, generic function. I'm passing ID of type T, and return type T extends number, question mark, product, colon, product, array. So what this function returns? A, it returns an object product. B, this function returns an array of objects product. C, it returns either a product or an array of product. In D, you can't use a ternary operator where type is expected. So what is the right answer? Just 2 lines of code. Come on. D, you can't use ternary operator where type is expected. That's one answer. I accept this answer. It doesn't mean that it's correct answer, but that's the answer. Who else? C. All right, there's not too many letters. A, B, C, and D. Right, so D is wrong. C. So explain yourself. Why it's C? Who said C?
Because we use extends and it gives you all the proposed right? Or that is a product or array.
Well, the answer was because it's either product or array. It's a good answer, but it's not the precise answer. So, yes?
The number exists in a practically past the function, that means you use the product, not the array. If you're passing a single ID number to it, it will treat it as a number.
No, you're saying how you think the function will work, but what I'm trying to get from you, can you write something that looks like a ternary operator where type is expected? Look at this. T extends number, question mark, product. Otherwise, product, square brackets. Does TypeScript support something like this? If yes, is there a name to it? Okay. Correct. That's the right answer. It's called conditional types. So the right answer is C. Look at this. I have a class product with ID number, and then exactly the same signature over here. The same signature, right? And then inside I check if type is equal number, then I return object, ID 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, I return an array. Typical situation, I want to get products from the server, maybe, right? So if I will pass ID of a product, I'm going to get back one object, or I expect to get back one object. If I am not passing anything, and by the way, as you can see over here, ID has a question mark, right? Meaning it's optional. I may not pass anything as an argument. So if I'm not passing anything, T extends number means basically type T that you are giving me is assignable to a number. If it's not, it'll return me product array. If I will go down, if I will hover over this line number 14, I'm invoking get products with 1, 2, 3. It knows that result will be product, one product. If I will hover over result 2, it knows that I'm going to get back an array of products. Conditional types. And by the way, if you think about it, you could have done something similar with this ugly overloading method notation. But with this, it's much easier to understand. So I encourage you to read about conditional types. All right, a couple of more, maybe 3 more. I have this first line, generate number. Fat arrow function to generate a random number. Then I have this async function, do stuff. It returns promise. What do I do inside the function? Let some number, declare a variable, and then I have a loop, do while. So async await, I assume that you know how this works. This line with the wait will wait until generate number is over, returns the result, and only then it will go to the next line. So it'll loop. It should loop like this. So the questions are, it won't compile. Actually, the answers are, it won't compile because promise is a generic type. If it's generic type, you have to use angle brackets afterwards with something. I didn't put anything in there, right? B, do stop has to return promise and any in angle brackets. C, do stop has to return promise and void in angle brackets. D, it won't compile. Do stop doesn't have a return statement. Inside the function, I don't have a return statement, as you can see over here. So what's the correct answer? Anyone? Which one? D as in David. It won't compile because it doesn't have a return statement. Nice answer, but when the function returns a promise, you don't have to write a return statement. So it's not D. So now it's easier. A, B, or C? Yes? You think A, it won't compile because promise is a generic type. That's correct. A, but how about B or C? Which one would you select, B or C? The correct answer is actually C. To tell you the truth, B would also work. You'll say promise and any. But if you will put any over here, actually, let me show it to you, then you would confuse people who will read your code. It looks like as if your function returns any, if you would put any over here. But when you say void, you're saying don't expect anything from me. Void is a more narrow type than any. And more narrow type is always preferable. So over here you should be putting void, even though any would work, promise any, but it's better to put void. This one-liner. We know that there is something called fat arrow that looks like fat arrow, but in this one line I have two fat arrows. Isn't it too much for one line? Fat arrow and fat arrow. So let's decide what to do with it. A, to compile, remove fat arrow number of the right. This line is too long. We can remove a piece. B, to compile, add a return statement after the first fat arrow. C, num function is a type representing a higher order function. D, this code has no use except screening during tech interviews. So which is the right answer? A, B, C, D. One line, one. I can't go less than one line. So what do we do with this one line? And the answer is, Dan, you know?
So functions are variables in JavaScript and TypeScript, so therefore this is a function that returns a function, so I'd say it represents a higher order function.
So you want my book or what?
What's that?
You want my book, I guess.
Sure. Oh, I didn't realize
That's yes, that's the correct answer. So basically C is the correct answer. So it's a higher order function. What is a higher order function? It's a function that can take another function as an argument or can return a function, correct? So what do you have here? I have the first function, argument t, and it returns this thing on the right, in parentheses, x number and number. This is a signature of a function that the first one returns, right? So it's a higher order function. But anybody has an idea, why would I do something like this? Is there any practical sense in it, practical use? Yes. What? Maybe closures, but if you look at what I return, I'm saying this function, the first function, must return me a function of this signature. Of this signature. It should return me a function that takes number as an argument and returns a number. And now I'll show you the use case. For example, you want to enforce the return, the function that is returned by another function. So what I'm saying num func t, I define this type, right? And this is what you saw on the slide. And now I can call this function without arguments, with numeric argument, with string argument, but no matter how I call it, it's going to return me a function with this signature. For example, over here I'm saying no arg function. I can declare this function, which is correct, because I'm returning what? I'm returning the function which takes a number as an argument and returns a number. In this example, I'm using numargfunc. Again, I'm reusing the same type from the line number 1. In this case, I'm passing value numeric, and I do something with it, but I return the function, line number 9, which is correct signature. Same thing I do with the string. I can give a string, but return the function with the proper signature. But over here, the last line, I did it on purpose. I made a mistake, kind of, right? So I'm trying to return a function that returns a string, which is wrong, because I enforced it. I enforced it with this type. Read-only T. Type read-only. If you will start reading the type definition files for TypeScript, you will find all these different declarations, and this is one of them. I took it from there, from TypeScript's d.ts. They declare type read-only of type T, and in there they do something weird on the second line. So what is that? A, this type finds all read-only properties of T. B, this type makes all properties of T read-only. And C, this is a built-in conditional type. So what is the right answer? B. It makes all properties of T read-only. Do you know how this works? Can you explain the signature?
Well, T is the generic.
Right.
So when we pass through, it's going to go through all the keyof is going to look through all the properties in the whatever object we pass through it. It's going to cast it to a read-only.
All right. Yes, you're right. You're right. So let me explain to everybody. So look at this. Let's say you have a class customer. I'll show you the code in a second. So T is a customer. Some of the fields are read-only, some of the fields are not. But in one particular case or place, you like the type customer, but you want to protect it. You don't want to allow anyone to change, to update the values of the properties. So what are the choices? Choice number 1. You can create another class read-only person, and repeat all the properties in there and mark them read-only. But it's not nice, because now we have to maintain two person classes. But what you can do, you can just say read-only in angle brackets T. So what the second line means? It means this. First of all, there is this keyof operator, which you can use with types only. This means this. They give me type T, and keyof will give me enumeration of all properties that this type has, if it's a person, name, address, or something like this. Now, P typically is a property, so T of P is so-called lookup operator. So I'm saying, give me the type of the property P. And then what we do, we attach on front read-only. So if you look at the example, I have an interface person, name, age, address. And I create an instance of the person in variable worker. And then I have function do stuff. Take a look. I didn't create another type for person. I just use it with this read-only generic type. It's so-called mapped type. The second thing to learn is mapped types. Conditional types and map types. We are mapping type person to another one with read-only properties. And now in line 15 it will give me an error saying you cannot assign to age because it's read-only. So with one little thing, we are reusing the type, but we mark it as read-only. So by the way, to illustrate how keyof works, line number 18, what do I do there? I say give me all the properties, and it gives you name, age, and address. Over here, when I say person of prop names, it tells me is the union of all types that exist on the person. And the final question in this demo is this. I have a function filter with this weird signature TP. By the way, when you see T, it means type in generics. When you see P, typically it's a property. When you see K, it's a key, something like this. So I want to write a function filter by, and it's supposed to have two generic types, T and P. And P extends what? Key of T. So P must be one of the property of T. And it has three arguments: property of type P, value T of P, and array T. And I want to filter them. They will give me an array to this function. I want to filter them out. It will take every item. Filter is the standard API on arrays in JavaScript. Item, and I want to check if the item of the given property has the value that we want to filter by. So the three possible answers. A, the function signature can be simplified. So remove all these types and be done with it. B, since P is not used with the body, you still can simplify the signature, but we are still using T as generics. And C, above simplification, open doors to bugs. So what is the right answer? What? Bugs. C? Why is C? Actually, yes, the right answer is C. I don't have much time, so let me explain it to you. So basically, I have an interface person, which has property name and age, right? And I create an instance of the person in line number 7 to 9, name John and name Mary with the ages. And then I have my function with this signature T and P extends of property P, value TP, and array TP. And then I return the array filter. So take a look how TypeScript helps you out, how it protects you from making mistakes. So in this example, look at this. Line number 20, I call this function correctly. Filter by name, John, and person. Name is the valid property, line 13. John is a value of valid type, right? Name is a string, and person is an array. But line number 22, for example, look at this. I am trying to use filter by, and I'm passing non-existent property. And it tells me, what are you doing? You said that you're going to give me a property P that extends key of T. It's one of the existing one. Don't give me something that doesn't exist. And the last one, look at this. 20. I passing a string as an age. And it tells me, you can do this. What protects me here? Value must be of type of this property. I gave you the person. Type of the age is number, so please give me the number. See, so it's a pretty powerful language. Language. And use it. Unfortunately, you have to read the manuals. The gentleman on the right in the gray shirt, you got the book. So stop by and read.